Hey guys, welcome back to another Disney Twisted Tale review featuring 101 Dalmatians with the most recent release of the Disney Twisted Tale series, Cruel Truth by Jen Kalanita. If you haven't already seen my other reviews and want to go in some sort of order, you can check out, it's up there. Right now my brain is telling me the opposite. But check out the playlist I have, because I have read and reviewed every Disney Twisted Tale that has come out up to this point. You can see them here on my shelf. Ta-ta! Now you have too much light. Some have been really great. Some have been disappointments. And without alluding to which one this is, because I have done this one as sort of a mini read-along react, so it is going to be a bit longer of a video. If you don't want spoilers, then well, all you need to know is, let me give you the back cover synopsis blurb, just so you know what we're getting into, because I'm about to get into it. What if Anita and Cruella were best friends? It's 1953, and teenage Anita Weatherby and her family have just moved to a booming post-war London. While her older sister settles right in, Anita finds their new school and her academic rival, Roger Radcliffe, daunting. Nothing seems to be going Anita's way until a glamorous, confident new student moves to town. Stella DeVille is haughty and aloof, but surprises everyone by taking an immediate liking to Anita. Swept into the luxurious world of Stella's high-end family fashion label, Anita finds herself the anticipated star of the House of DeVille's next fashion show, where she'll be modeling a family heirloom, the Weatherby Diamond, and walking the catwalk. But when disaster strikes and the Weatherby Diamond goes missing, Anita will have to decide whom she can trust before her life goes to the dogs. With all that being said, you're going to see this setup at the end of the video because I just filmed the final reaction today. But enjoy the journey and some of my own dogs who have abandoned me on this fine final day. You'll see a little bit more of them than you get dogs in this book, kinda sorta. It's a whole thing. Get into it. Go, let's jump back into our own past, not 5 years thankfully, but past me. Take it away. Alright guys, it's official. I am cleaned and got all the summer sweat off of me, so we can start reading Cruel Truth. I just received this book yesterday, which is also a week late, but 3 weeks early. I guess I misread the shipping estimation situation. It came from Australia, so it came. That's what's important. But we're going to start reading Cruel Truth by Jen Kalanita. This is the, I don't even know what number it is anymore. I want to say like 20th? 21st? I think 21st Twisted Tale novel. And obviously, like I said, it's 101 Dalmatians based. Now, I do have a little bit of a spoiler for myself. Usually, I don't read the back blurb until like I do the review for you guys. But on a stream like a month or so ago, I was looking into it for the chat, and I ended up reading the blurb. So I'm already a little disappointed. The only thing I'll say is I don't think there's going to be enough dogs in this book. So to make up for that, I'm going to give you as much of my dogs as I can. This is a Treyu for those who haven't been around. He is a Mastiff mix. He'll actually be 5 in a week. Yeah, we're talking about you. We're talking about you, baby boy. And not the best angle, but you'll see more of him. We're hanging out in the basement so they can cool off. And this is Willow. She is a supposedly Great Dane Shepherd Husky mix. She's about 1.5, and she's already... Are you zonked? You were zonked. Yeah. They're going to hang out with me. It's about, I think, 387, 388. The last numbered page is 389. Oh, I also don't like that it ends on an odd number. That's a pet peeve I only now realize that I have. So yeah, it's about it's just shy of 400 pages, but it's squat. It is a squat book. Chunky, but shorter. So we'll see how far I can get. I have a timer set for about 2 hours, give or take. to read for this first session, so we'll see what sort of shenanigans we get into and what our first impressions of Cruel Truth are. Finished chapter 1, took me about 15 minutes, but I'm not going to recap every single chapter. I'm just going to do it in chunks if there's, like I said, if there's something to talk about really. But since it is the first chapter and the first introduction to the book, I felt we should talk about it. So we start off the book actually at the end of the movie, the Disney animated movie, where all the puppies have returned. Well, all the puppies and then some have returned to Roger and Anita's house, and it's kind of the celebration. So while they're happy, they already planned to keep the puppies and move to the country, you know, Dalmatian plantation. There's bits and pieces alluding to their past. So unlike the start of the animated movie, Roger, Anita, and Stella, aka Cruella, were school chums. They all went to high school together at least. I guess Anita's only 21 in this book, which I definitely thought they were at least later 20s in the movie. Maybe it's Roger smoking a pipe that makes me think he's a little bit older. I'm not sure. But I definitely was giving like they've been out working in the world for a while and finally meet their person. But in this, they've known each other since school. And I'm 100% sure we're going to get into a whole like backstory, school time stuff with all of them to kind of show events, but they don't know. Like, Roger's pretty darn sure that Cruella was the one who kidnapped the puppies, but Anita still is defending her, being like, we don't know that. Scotland Yard cleared her. Yet there were these incidences that we keep, like I said, alluding to that happened back when that were suspicious, but like Anita's still on Stella's side. Like she doesn't even like really want to call her Cruella. That was a nickname made up by Roger, which got famous via the song, and Stella adapted, so Stella even goes by Cruella at this point. So there's a lot of different bits and pieces that we're getting already from this first chapter in the Twisted Tale, which is good. It felt like a decently long like first chapter, where every time I turned a page I was like, oh, there's more, because there was quite a few points where you could have like stopped the scene, I guess. It does kind of let the reader know, especially if they're referencing the animated movie like I am, or even the live action, the original live action, or was the Cruella de Vil one just called Cruella? But I feel like there might be a little touching on all these different things here. Regardless, I think the intro was pretty good, where it sets up enough of different elements in the story to prepare us going forward for why characters are feeling certain ways and why we don't, or why Cruella isn't marked as the bad guy just yet. So something's gonna come out of this for sure. We're gonna go back in time, see how they were in school, see how much of the story that takes, because if something already happened back when they were in school and that wasn't enough to convince Anita, then like something else has to happen again for them to be like, Cruella is the bad guy and lock her up. So we'll see if there's another attempt to kidnap these puppies or what, because now there's 99 puppies and 2 adult dogs all chilling out until they can find that house in the country. I mean, I guess it already kind of proved me wrong, because we literally started out the first page with being like 101 Dalmatians, and I'm like, oh, they are there. Which I do appreciate, because like I said, reading the back blurb, it's just, I think it could be the case of where the blurb just does not do it justice, and that happens a lot in my opinion. So let's just keep going and see what I can read in the rest of my 2 hours. Willow has joined me on the couch, and Atreyu has rolled over to the other side. But more importantly, we are introduced to Anita's childhood dog, which is a brown and white corgi with a brown and white swishy tail. More importantly, as we see every time with Jen, Cal, Anita, we have to take, this is the dog's name is Madeline. We're going to call her Mad or Maddie for short, and guarantee we're going to see Mad more than Maddie, even though Maddie is just as easy to say, because right here when the dog comes in, how are we getting out of this mad. Why? 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 Just stop with the 3-letter nicknames, please. Please. I don't even need to see your name on the book and I'm gonna know it's you because you do this every time. Why does it bug me so much though? Like, blech. But aside from that, and yeah, so corgis can definitely have undocked tails. Here's a picture reference. I had to look it up because I've actually never seen one in real life with a undocked tail. So they look like little foxes, so they're adorable. I did want to show you guys something else though. So in chapter 4, so this is the regular font size for reading. It's probably like 12-ish, 10, 12-ish. But we're reading an article that appeared in their paper, and just for reading reference, I'm not sure how it looks on the ebook. You can probably make it bigger, but the text does get quite a bit smaller, and this is the article. So here's a sort of side by side. Like, it's not hugely drastic, but initially looking at it, like, you can see quite the difference. And like I said, it is because they're reading an article in the paper and this is how it's separated. I don't think this was necessarily the best way to do that, I guess. I don't know. It just seems really tiny. It's only, yeah, okay, there's a good side by side. So it's only like 2.5 pages, but it is a thing if you struggle to read smaller text. Just be aware chapter 4 at least has some small text. Okay, we're gonna pause reading for a minute because I'm actually hungry. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I've had coffee. We're gonna eat a little bit. I'll probably end up reading a bit more later, but the chapter that I just read with the article I showed you was about the fancy little diamond necklace there on the front, with the turn of events of them, Anita's family moving to London, because we are back 5 years in the past. So Anita's 16, she's going to school. They had found a family heirloom, essentially, which is this diamond necklace, which is super, super, super valuable. And there was an article that we read that was posted in the newspaper, pretty much advertising it, but also like I could definitely see the wrong intention coming from advertising that you have a big, shiny, valuable item in your house. I'm pretty sure that's gonna lead into Stella maybe giving Anita some attention. I'm not exactly sure why else she would if she is very, like, self-conceited. But Anita is off to school and I am off to eat. Willow is just a zonk. It's a zonky bear. Trey who like moved. Yeah, there's my boy. Are you under the thing? There we go. Oh, my water bottle. You wanna go upstairs? Alright, well, I wanna go upstairs. You guys should be sufficiently cooled off by now. Yeah. Yes, we didn't get our greenies. Did you want your greenie? No? Maybe? I'm sure you're gonna follow me. Off you go then. Let's get your greenies. Where's your greenies? It's on the table. Come on, let's go get our treats. Willow, you gotta go sit. Come on, go in your spot. Sir. Good morning, Greenie. Well, I guess good afternoon. Good girl. You know, you could relax. Good boy. Eat your crumbs. You watching the movie?
How did you escape?
I didn't escape, Papa.
Watch the movie.
That horrible beast?
But he's different now, Papa. He's changed somehow.
Bill, why'd you go away? Don't you like us anymore?
Willow. I'm sure you are a wee little hot. Are we taking a break? Yep. Yes. Hi. Hi. Oh, and a sec.
Willow, not now.
Willow, it's not playtime. Come on, let's go home. Let's go home. Willow. Whoop, whoop. Okay, hello. Hello.
Precious, precious moment. I was gonna read. And see if there was any more doggies in the book. I got big enough dog right here. And there's Will. Willow. Are you jealous?
Willow Bear.
Oh. Are we gonna take a walk? Yeah. Oh, what we need? Do we need to stand over here? Yeah. What we need to do to get our collars on, Willow Bear? Do we need to sit? Yes. Hey guys, we're back. It's been a couple days since our little initial reading streak in the basement. I've made some progress. I'm here, but I did mark some notes that I wanted to talk about, but I was like reading at night and way too cozy to grab my phone to talk about it. So we're gonna recap real quick on where we're at with Cruel Truth and then read some more. It's a really nice day. It's only like mid-70s. We needed it. So instead of going to the gym today, reading today outside, and then we'll do the gym tomorrow when it's supposed to be gross. Last time I had left off with you guys, pretty sure, we just got told about the Weatherby diamond, which is a family heirloom in Anita's family. And her sister Lizzie, who is an aspiring theater actress, wants to like kind of use that to her advantage to become friends with Stella, aka Cruella, because she is the daughter of the fashion mogul, the House of DeVille. They all are getting ready to go to school, and they go wait at the bus stop, and it's at the bus stop where a couple things happen to Anita. She is kind of just brushed off by her sister and her sister's friends, but she takes the time to like just sketch in her notebook a new dress design. So this Anita, which I don't think we have any canon references in the animated, but in the live action, if I remember correctly, she did work at the fashion. She was like a sketch designer thereabouts. I'd have to rewatch it, which I want to rewatch it because it's one of the few live actions I actually enjoyed. So she is sketching in her notebook some dress designs, and like Roger and his friends show up to the bus stop as well, and there's already like that tension between them of like school rivals. I do think there is quite a bit of info dumping going on in these early chapters to set up like rivalry between Anita and Roger, and then as we'll see in a little bit, like Roger's own history with Stella. But I can understand if you do have a page limit, which I don't know what the parameters are when they are commissioned or asked to write these books. But there are certain times where I'm just like, we were mid-scene and you think you're just going to get a little bit of a nod to like, oh, he got better scores than me last week, but I'm going to beat him. And like over time kind of have an actual situation where it makes sense. But like it felt more like an info dump. However, Roger's been calling her annoying Nita, and like Anita herself knows that she doesn't stand up for herself. We're in Anita's head and she's aware that she does make herself smaller to like let her sister shine, because that's what her parents are more or less concerned about, is like Lizzie's career, and they don't give Anita as much attention. That's our setup for Anita, right? She's not, I wouldn't say meek, but definitely like she's not confrontational. Everybody gets on the bus They go to pick up Stella, who's living at a very grand hotel at this point. Stella's a little late, but she comes out, and when she gets on the bus, like, she doesn't want to sit with anybody. Lizzie, Anita's sister, approaches her first, kind of being like, hey, why don't you sit with us? And we can talk about the diamond, kind of being like, you're rich, we're technically not rich at all, but like seemingly rich. She gets blown off. While like Roger and the boys are like kind of making a joke about it, and like oh, there's Cruella, and she kind of blows past him as well. So she has that interaction with both characters before getting to the back of the bus where Anita is sitting by herself, pretty much like, I think the back row. Stella is like, move. Like, she doesn't want to sit with anybody, right? And out of character, and I say this because even the character calls herself out of character, Anita is very just like, no, I'm sitting here. You can either sit with me or you can find a different seat. And we're seeing this we initially see this interaction from Stella's point of view. While both of them are standing their ground, it does feel very out of character as the reader that Anita is acting this way, because it feels very aggressive. I'm not quite like super aggressive, more forthcoming than Anita has shown to be, and like acknowledges that she herself is. But this intrigues Stella, right? And I'm like, this feels like a setup. So Stella like agrees to sit there and like shakes her hand and introduces herself, which she has not done with anybody else, right? So we're already setting up, somehow this is why Anita caught her eye. And then as soon as we switch to Anita's POV within like that next page, Anita's like, it was very out of character for her. I'm like, yes, it was. Yes, it was. But she kind of defends it in the sense of like, she was just over it because that whole morning, like, her parents were disregarding her, Lizzie disregarded her, Roger was teasing and disregarding her. So like, that was her snap sort of moment. I'll take it. Sure, it's not the worst excuse. But of course, because we know what's supposed to happen, especially like this early on in their story, it does feel a little contrived that it's their like first real interaction and that's how it goes. But moving on, because they talk very little on the bus itself, and like Stella even like kind of looks through Anita's sketchbook. She doesn't care about all the dog sketches because she does hate dogs. She had a traumatic childhood experience, but she sees Anita's dress designs, and that's probably what really piques her interest, and seems to, at least from what we can tell, because we're in Anita's POV when this is happening, Stella's gonna pick her if she's gonna socialize with anybody. They get to school, already a little late. It is a loud day. Well, Stella heads off to the office first instead of going straight to her class, and Anita goes to class. Like, she stops by the leaderboard. She's currently in first place, but Roger's right behind her, and like, this school publicizes everybody's grade because they think that will help like students feel like they want to do better, but also because the top scoring student for the year will get the next year's tuition free, which Anita desperately wants because she knows that she's not getting any extra help from her parents, and if she wants to further herself in school, she needs tuition covered to like make that argument with her parents. Roger, also being super competitive, I feel like has the same motivations, because we are gradually getting hints that even though his father's a famous pianist, might have a gambling problem. So I'm sure that's going to come out. It's not going to be a big surprise. But when Anita goes to class, immediately her and Roger are like competing for who answers the question, and it's fun. Like, if you enjoy books and stories like set in school because of like the classmate rivalries, which was gonna, you know, they get together. I would say if I had to change anything so far, I would have not put the present with them essentially married with the Dalmatians to start us off. I would have just started straight with Anita in school and let us wonder if they are going to get together. Because I feel like that could have been way more interesting if it wasn't like, okay, you guys were rivals, but I know you're getting together, so like, this is all just play or whatever. That's the only thing I would change thus far, because it is a decently enjoyable read, but I do have to point out the things, which I should have looked at my notes before I just kept rambling, because real quick. So this is right when Stella's waking up to go to school and get on the bus. And she mentions that like they need their beauty sleep, right? I'm going to read this sentence to you because I read it and I was like, that feels like someone told you to change that. Didn't anyone in England realize young ladies on the cusp of entering society needed their beauty sleep so they could grow up and be big, strong, and powerful? She was that already, but still. We all know that the whole like beauty sleep thing is essentially a more like aesthetic reason to sleep in or whatever, get their beauty sleep. Because we know Stella is Cruella and like much more into the fashion side of it, but also I guess with her father being this huge fashion mogul and her aspiring to be also equally big, I like, yes, in context it makes sense, but I think that those choice of words, big, strong, and powerful, it's like immediately I'm thinking of like a bodybuilder because maybe I'm at the gym too much, and that's fair. I feel like different words could have been chosen to, like, if we are talking about corporate strength and power, because we went from beauty sleep to big, strong, and powerful. I was like, it almost felt a little bit like, no, we need her to like kind of be girl bossy and change this. But it wasn't like, again, I just don't think the word choice was the best, even though I kind of understand what they were trying to do. I don't like it, but I'm just telling you because this is my review. But it is, like I said, there's things that I don't typically love word choice wise. I can understand it, and I'm not above it because I do make my own mistakes writing, but you can't just spiral and like keep trying to make things perfect. And we already talked about Anita being out of character, just making sure. So yeah, so Anita and Roger are in class, right? After their little like bout of question answering, Stella arrives at the classroom because she decided to transfer over from her teacher to Miss Norbert, which is the English teacher for Anita and Roger, because she wants to be with Anita. And she literally like kicks the student who is sitting out of the desk next to Anita and makes him go sit in the empty seat, and then Stella takes his seat next to Anita. So it's very obvious that she's just latching on. Again, knowing where things are gonna turn, like having that foreknowledge, I think is actually kind of crippling the way that I'm perceiving certain things going on in the story, because you could assume she's using her power to get what she wants, to sit next to Anita. Is she doing it because she's just latching onto her as a friend, like as an actual friend, or is it just more manipulation because we do learn a little bit more in the next little chunk there. So Stella's part of the classroom now, and Miss Norbert offers an extra credit opportunity, which both Anita and Roger want to make sure that their grades stay at the top, and it's volunteering at a cat and dog shelter, which Stella also volunteers for before knowing it's a cat and dog shelter, and then she's like, oh no, I don't want to do that because I hate dogs. But she's already kind of roped in and the teacher's not letting her back out. The thing that I tagged on this scene though was they're meeting on Saturday morning at 9, which is early. It's not as early as the time they have to be at school, which is 8, but this is Anita's point of view, and Miss Norbert's like, oh, it's gonna be fun, we'll meet everybody there at 9. Anita bit the inside of her cheek. 9 a.m. on a Saturday was going to be asking a lot of Stella. It just feels out of place because I guess while Stella does have a history of showing up a little bit late to the bus, that's, again, it's an hour earlier. And also, this isn't a bus situation, like she has to show up there on her own. And Anita hasn't been talking to Stella enough to know that she prefers sleeping in on Saturdays, to know that she wants her beauty sleep, to even have Stella's situation be her concern rather than her own. Like, how is she gonna one up Roger or whatever? So I just thought it was a little soon to have Anita concerned for Stella, when even when Stella joins the class and sits next to her, like, Anita is still very focused on Roger and what he's trying to do so they can get their grades set up. But she is at least a little bit aware enough to know that Stella's grades ain't great. They're like a C at the average. So she understands why Stella would want the extra credit, but it's a weird place to put that sentence and end the chapter. Like, just a little odd for me. I would not have done that. Wouldn't that be funny if I just like reread my own books now that it's been a few years and did this kind of review? I would tear myself apart. Would for sure. I think I would really enjoy certain parts too, but like everything we do in the past is cringe. Just that's all I can say. So moving forward, I got a few more chapters to recap it before I can start reading again. Saturday is we're going to the shelter. That's the next bit. Anita tries to arrive super early so she can be the first one there, but Roger's already there. And they kind of don't acknowledge each other for a while until Roger calls her out, like, why do you even need extra credit and to be the top? Like, you guys got the Weatherby diamond. And she doesn't come out to say, like, no, we're poor. That's the only thing we got. And her dad's not selling it. He's trying to, like, rent it out. See if people will, like, pay for it that way and make more money. Hi. Did you see something? Did you see something? We have to take a break for the dogs, because we're only getting to some dogs in this book just now. Oh, she fell down. I'm sorry. Sorry, the chaos of these vlogs. What did you see? Did you hear something? Did you hear something? Yeah. Oh, you coming up here? Okay, putting the book down, I guess. Putting the book down. No, it's okay. Here, you can come up here. I'll just pet him for a bit and talk. So it's getting close to 9, but like nobody's opened up the door. And Stella more or less arrives either on time or maybe just a few minutes late. So her driver pulls up in their private car and she asks him to pretty much idle there because she doesn't plan to be there that long. This is where, Bubby, you're not in the screen. We'll just look at the dog. Pretty much Stella reveals that she knows Roger from the past, and I think she had oh yeah, she calls him Cornelius. So I didn't know that Roger's real name was Cornelius. Editing me looked this up. Is it like said anywhere that his name is Cornelius? Because I don't remember that, but it's not something I would remember, I suppose. In saying his actual first name, Anita catches on like, oh, like you guys know each other, and they apparently, because of her father, no, Mr. Wasp, not on my dog, not on me. Their dads knew each other, so they grew up more or less knowing each other and spending time together at, I presume, the Radcliffe Manor. I think it was the Radcliffe house, or no, it should have been the DeVille house, because he's the one who banned the dogs after that. But essentially, they were out like on a walk in the woods and somebody's dog ran out after them and attacked Stella, and Roger ran away, and so that's why she will never forgive him, but also she hates dogs. Interesting that this dog attacked her, but that's the situation. That's how they know each other, and that's why they're kind of at odds with each other, and Roger doesn't like her. Now, the fact that he's calling her Cruella, I don't think has been... I think there's more to the story, because if he's calling her cruel, but he's the one that ran away from the dog attack, there has to be something more to the story. Whether she was like teasing the dog or doing something that made it bite her because she has like a scar on her arm, right? We get all that information just in time for the teacher to show up, unlock the shelter, and be like, you guys take care cleaning up and feeding the dogs, and I'm gonna take care of the cats real quick so we can have the adoptees come in like the next couple hours and hopefully have a successful day. Love that. At this point, Stella is rubbing off on Anita as an onlooker. No, not the best way. Like, she is encouraging her to like stand up for herself, but it is getting to the point of being cruel. Like, Anita, don't you dare go clean anything. Make him do all the work, like the physical work, and we'll take care of just like feeding them. So they make Roger start cleaning out the pens and doing really all the manual labor. One of the puppies gets out of the kennel and like, no, 2 puppies. It's the 2 Dalmatian puppies, because there was like a bunch of puppies turned into the shelter while Anita's going in to start getting them ready. 2 Dalmatian puppies rush out and they run towards Stella, who's still like frozen in the doorway, hasn't even come in the room. She freaks out. Anita goes, grabs the puppies, put them in the nearest kennel, and gets the rest of the story, like the whole dog attack part. So while Roger is over there cleaning everything, Anita's like, let's just try to pet this puppy, okay? I'm gonna hold it, you can just pet its back, and like very much like as if she was a child, like walking her through it step by step. And she like just barely touches it, and she's like, okay, it's fine. It wasn't the worst experience, but I didn't like it. Again, through Stella's influence, Anita basically tells Roger, I'm gonna get the fresh water for all the dogs, so you keep cleaning those pens, you do all the work. And like Anita even mentions like she's used to it because she has a dog at home, like, so cleaning up their pens is not a huge deal, but because of Stella's influence she does that, even though she tells Stella to join their teacher in the cat room because there's no dogs and she won't have to worry about it. Needless to say, Anita continues to do the minimal work of just refreshing the water and putting the kibble down, and Roger cleans the pens. So the teacher is just happy that it got done and doesn't acknowledge that Roger did most of the work, But while Stella and Miss Norbert were in the cat room, she had come up with a fundraiser idea to have their next fashion show featuring like each model would have a cat or dog with it, to also advertise the pet for adoption, raising money for that as well as having the fashion show. Good idea, sure. Not the worst idea, but animal stress. We don't get to delve into it too much because it's pretty much right into opening the shelter, getting the adoption system going on, and a pretty successful day for adoptions. I don't know what, I assume any adoption is a successful day for a shelter, but they had quite a few. So leaving there, mind you, Anita is kind of in her more well-worn clothes. Stella offers or invites her to join her and her father for dinner that night. Anita's right off the bat I don't have anything to wear to that. That sounds way too fancy. And Stella's oh, I'll just lend you something from my closet, right? Her wardrobe, her one of two wardrobes. Roger's maybe jealous, or at least, because he doesn't like Stella and has this rivalry with Anita. I would say he's kind of he's not happy that the two are hanging out, right? So he leaves without saying goodbye. Stella and Anita get in the car, which has been sitting there this whole time. Hopefully the car was off, but it's been sitting there this whole time, which has been hours. They head back to the hotel. Stella takes her up to the room, and as they're getting into the suite, because they had rented out the top two suites for their living, even though it's not as big as their house, so they have she's oh, these two rooms are just storage right now, so I can't wait to have a house and have more space again. But Anita's my whole house could fit in your living room, that kind of situation. And yes, she does have two full wardrobes, and a lot of it is clothing from her dad's fashion line, but also other designers, many of which Stella have not even worn, because some of it is designs that haven't come out yet. And they pick out a very classic looking dress for Anita, get her all cleaned up for dinner. And when Stella's dad finally comes home for dinner, he notices the dress and he's hey, that actually looks pretty good on you. That's one of mine. It's through this dinner conversation where there is the possibility that Stella has chosen Anita to help get her grades up. Right before they went, Anita did call her parents to make sure it was okay that she could go over there. And her mom's oh, are you tutoring her? And she's no, she's just my friend. But fast forward to dinner, they don't come right out and say it, but she's oh yeah, she's gonna help me keep my grades up. It's alluded to, and I'm wait, is this our real? You can have more than one intention for sure, but I'm oh, maybe some of this is just to get her grades up to the point to make her dad happy, because he wants her to have a minimum B average. During dinner, they do bring up the kind of adoption gala fashion show. Mind you, even though the fashion show is already coming up, they are way over budget, and making a change like this is also way over budget, and they don't have time. But Mr. DeVille insists. His assistant, Mr. Bennett, who has yet to pay the rent, or rather the dues for them staying in the hotel that past month, is we don't got the money to be doing this. And the typical rich guy of you gotta spend money to make money. But now her dad's in the know, and he's up for this idea, even to the point of having, instead of the regular models, kind of more everyday people carrying these cats and dogs, to really make the show different for their first show in London. And now they're going to hold it at the hotel too. So essentially this is where it comes into the back of the book, because they plan that Anita is going to wear her little Audrey Hepburn style dress down the runway, walking the two Dalmatian puppies from the shelter, because it's going to contrast very well with the black, which they do. So now Anita's gone from pretty much nothing to exceeding her own sister's intentions of becoming her friend, to now not just having dinner with the DeVilles, but now she's going to be in the fashion show, and she's to wear this dress, and she's walk with these dogs, and she's got a new friend, and we're just about the halfway point. So make your assumptions on what the midway point is going to be based on the back of this. I feel, because the diamond does go missing, I know that's going to happen. I'm curious as to how we're going to wrap up this and jump back to the present. Also decently sure, because why not? Why not? This last little bit of information for you. As Anita's leaving and she's gonna take their private car home, she sees the assistant, Mr. Bennett. She doesn't see Mr. Bennett. She sees this guy at the lobby, and when she hears his name, she recognizes it. She recognizes it as the name of the guy who had called to purchase the diamond for an exorbitant amount, and her dad had refused. But she overhears that he has a meeting with Mr. Bennett, who is the assistant for Mr. DeVille. And she's curious about it. She's like, oh, why would he be meeting him? And I'm like, because they're probably going to plot something to steal the diamond, because guess who just had the idea of Anita also wearing the diamond with her cocktail dress? Stella. Did Stella have a plan to steal it? I don't think so, but I think Mr. Bennett might be plotting something nefarious in order to make up money on their end involving this diamond. So that's what I think is going to happen. Again, we're halfway. We're going to see how things unravel, but I'm pretty sure Stella might not have anything to do with the diamond going missing, but Mr. Bennett might. Not too long after reading. So I read it, chapter 13, where Anita is now telling her family what's going on, like her being in the fashion show wearing the diamond, and like even Richard DeVille calls and is like, we're doing this, right? Yay. And Lizzie is so jealous. Like, why is she getting to wear it before me? Like, I'm the older one. But chapter 14 starts out with Lizzie's complaining, being specifically like, oh, what if someone's going to steal it at the event? Like, do they even have security? I know this is foreshadowing, but it's very heavy-handed. Her initial complaining was just that Anita gets to wear it before her, and like, you know, kind of jealous that Anita's suddenly gotten more popular. Lizzie does this whole like, oh, I hope no one steals it. Like, but if you swapped them, if the two were swapped and Lizzie was wearing it, she wouldn't give a second thought to it being stolen. She would just be proud to have everybody looking at her. It's such a big event with all these people. A little heavy-handed there, because literally, like, after in Anita's POV, she's like, oh, now she's kind of worried about it herself, and why would Lizzie put such a damper on the moment? And then Lizzie goes back to just being like, oh, and I'm so concerned about all of this, and with her being friends with Stella, like, I've been nothing but nice to her, and I bet I botched my audition. Like, so back to like Lizzie complaints and worries. I don't think we even needed to have them worried about it being stolen, to be honest. Let's keep going, because we have not officially hit the midpoint yet. We're just shy, so it's probably not going to be for another couple chapters that we actually see what's going to happen, but come on. Sir, madam, wham. Why are you barking at the neighbors? Hello? Why are you barking at the neighbors? Yes? Oh, sweetie. Oh, sweetie. They still live there. Oh, sweetie. Baby girl. Hi. Alright, let me finish this chapter. Okay, doggies want attention, so I'm just going to finish this chapter I'm in. But Anita goes to school early on Monday. Obviously, like I said, things with Lizzie being jealous and all that are still there. But on Mondays when they update the leaderboards at the school with the grades. And so Anita goes in super early so she can see the boards update and like be reassured that she's on top because she like got an 8+ on her test, yada yada. Roger also shows up to check the leaderboard, and while they're waiting, he's kind of like, you know, you're something's different about you, Anita. I'm not quite sure I like it. I think you're hanging out with Stella too much. But Anita's also like, she's enjoying this game with Roger, like the back and forth. And I'm like, yes, we set up the romance. Roger specifically says, it's not even alluding to, but it's like, you know, Stella's using you, like, to help get her grades up, and she doesn't have friends, she just uses people. At this point, I don't know if this is even heavy-handed, or, because, like, it makes sense that Roger would know this and, like, be like, by the way, are you sure you want to keep helping her because she's just using you? Like, I feel like it makes sense. Yeah, so there's a little, like, argument between them about that, and, like, Anita doesn't want to believe it. She wants to think that Stella's actually her friend, but as we're getting to the fashion show, things are picking up quickly. Are you guys fighting? You gonna get the stick? Oh, yep, he stole it. It's his now. So we got them some bamboo sticks from our neighbor because they have too many. They're drying some out for kindling. And these two break it up. So pretty much we make some kindling, we take it over, and we get some new sticks. Look at that power. Look at that power, boy. Good boy. Yeah. I just pretty little girl just sitting there, comfy legs. Comfy legs. Go back to the book. Bubby, if you lay down, how are we gonna go? Willow, how's he gonna go anywhere? Treyu, do you wanna go? Yeah? Do we wanna go? Yeah? Do we wanna take a walk? Yes, well, where do we go? We lean. Where, Willow? Which, to me. Treyu, do we need to get our collars on? Let's get our collar on. Come on. You're Nikki. Let's get your collar on. Come on. Let's go. We're going to take a walk. Let's go. Come on. Let's get your collar on. Go on. You got to get to your spot. Yes, Willow knows the drill. There he is. He's a good boy. All right, let's get ourselves ready. Go get a walk. It is far too late for me to catch you up from, I think last time I talked, I was around midpoint with you guys. And it is far too late to recap all of that and go over my notes. But I just finished it. Oh, Jen. Mrs. Kalanita, I don't know your status, but did you forget the beginning of the book? We'll talk about it probably tomorrow because it's Monday and I can get all this recapped and reviewed for you guys, but the initial feeling right now is like, did we forget something? Even though as like a reading experience, it was a fun story, but it doesn't tie into the beginning. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll talk about it. We'll catch up, and then I'll double check those first couple of chapters to see. Like, I'm sorry, you just had to get my reaction because upsetty spaghetti. Good night. I'll talk to you guys here in a second, and we're gonna sort this out. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Let's finally wrap up our read along, review, recap of Cruel Truth. It's been a couple days since I finished it, and I did want it to simmer just to not overly react, but I still feel the same way. So you're probably gonna get the full-on disappointment. But let's at least get through these few notes I have here. Pretty much from where we left off, things go pretty smoothly for a few chapters, and a lot of it is getting ready for the fashion show, dress fittings, getting the dogs ready. Mr. DeVille like falls in love with the two Dalmatian puppies, which he names Norman and Belinda, after I believe they're also famous fashion icons. His love for them becomes like, oh, training them so they can walk with Anita, to keeping them in the apartment, to more or less adopting them, which with Cruella, aka Stella, not liking dogs, does not like that idea, and she isn't even told until he's pretty much officially adopted them, like the night before the fashion show. So she's not happy about that. Anita, however, we don't get to see a lot of the competition with her and Roger during this time because Roger's also in the show. They implemented not only the shelter dogs and cats, but having regular people as models. So Roger's a model, their teacher, Miss Norbert, is a model, Anita. I think those are like the three named ones. and then like Stella does decide to become a model at last minute, or relatively close to last minute, since one of the like famous actresses that they got as kind of their big name drop didn't want to wear a particular dress, so Stella took her spot. We do start to get a lot of clues, some more, I won't say heavy-handed in this case, but I think as someone who's kind of used to looking for what does this mean, instead of, especially when I'm reading a book with the purpose of like reviewing it for you guys, I do pay a little bit more attention, which sometimes kind of, I wouldn't say ruins the reading experience, but if I had just picked this book up and read it, I'd have feelings. I just wouldn't think too much about it. But we do get clues as to what's really going on with Roger's dad's situation. Like, yes, he's this famous concert pianist. He's a pianist, concert pianist. But his family's broke because he has a gambling addiction, especially greyhounds in this case. But we learn the keys of that information more so through Anita eavesdropping. She comes upon them accidentally, but she doesn't decide to walk away. She definitely commits to eavesdropping, where we hear Roger and his dad talking about like them not getting paid for being part of the fashion show. So there is a bit of tension between Roger and Anita, especially because after Anita kind of blew up at Roger, they haven't really been talking in the same semi-chummy way. Like, he's calling her Weatherby now instead of Anita, which, not gonna lie, those two characters were the best part of this book for me. We'll get to the how I would have edited this a little bit, but fashion show is pretty much going very smoothly. The day of, Anita's father and her family come to bring the Weatherby. The jewelry collector who had wanted to buy the Weatherby, who was also denied purchasing the Weatherby, is at the show, and they're like, oh, since he's here, he'll put the necklace on you. So as he's putting the necklace on, Anita is smelling dog food. And y'all know what dog food smells like, particularly like wet dog food, so it's kind of dog or cat food. Any canned meat like food is a pretty good comparison. So she's smelling this, thinking it's his cologne, or like he said, oh, it's just my cologne, and she accepts that as an excuse, and she's still smelling it. And like they realize it's on the necklace, but her father had just cleaned the necklace that morning with like soap and water, so it shouldn't be smelling anything except clean. We're in a time crunch, so rather than like connecting the dots, Anita does her walk up the runway. As she gets to the end, that's when she like notices Horace and Jasper I guess they were like off, but backstage with a whistle, because she's hearing this dog whistle. And then on her walk back to finish the show, the dogs all come out of everywhere and run her over, and they're just like licking and playing with her, so it's not like they're attacking her. But in that time, the Weatherby goes missing. And even while there is speculation that maybe one of the dogs took it and ran off with it, I don't know how thorough they actually checked the dogs. Essentially, the show kind of erupted into chaos, and they all started searching for the missing diamond necklace, while like some of the other guests were just also enjoying their cocktails at the edge of the room, because nobody was allowed to leave until Scotland Yard showed up. So right after Anita is attacked by the dogs, Stella comes out to check on her friend. And this seems like a very earnest, she is checking on her friend, but in knowing that the diamonds are missing, I think it's actually Stella who suggests maybe one of the dogs took it. At this point, Stella also knows that her family is in a financial, let's just say they're very much in the red. And she doesn't want there to be scandal or anything to like hurt the DeVille name, so she doesn't want Anita to like share any details that might lead to her father having something to do with the diamonds going missing, especially because like he was meeting with the collector, but so was Bennett being Mr. DeVille's direct assistant and like family. There's a lot of secrets going around, right? There's a lot of secrets. After the fashion show wraps up, everybody gets their interviews, or yeah, I guess their interviews with Scotland Yard. That was one of the very nice editing touches for the book. They actually had 2 or 3 interviews kind of laid out in the, like, following that. So we got to see how the interviews went dialogue for dialogue. And I thought that was a really nice touch. It was done a little bit better than the very tiny text they used for the news article earlier. So I do appreciate them adding in like kind of that different formatting element. I think that was a good way to show us the information without just writing a straight POV, because they were able to like hit 3 different POVs and it didn't feel disjointed because it was like some random guy's POV. It was his interview. Like it felt appropriate. We like that. We like that. So on the night of the fashion show, her family is all super proud of Anita for this, you know, this opportunity, this occasion. But Leslie's still very much jealous and won't like compliment her or anything. And so as their parents walk off, Anita calls out Leslie, but is also very mean about it. Like, I get it, you're finally saying your 2 cents, but there was a lot of Cruella influence in that, and it was very pointed. And her mom had overheard that, and so like, you know, Leslie's crying, and eventually like Anita does tell her mom like how she's been feeling, and it gets kind of smoothed over, but words have been said. So this is later, there's still that kind of raw feeling between the sisters. You know, Anita has this information about the necklace smelling like dog food and wondering about the jeweler, but instead of like telling her family, she already promised she wouldn't talk to Scotland Yard about that because she promised Stella, so she didn't want to have Mr. DeVille like targeted. She's thinking all like, oh, I need to talk to Stella about this. And I get it, like they promised to be investigating it together, but really Stella's not, because she doesn't really want to know the answers. If her father was involved or not. Detective Anita's on the case, and she's pretty much dedicated to figuring out what happened to the Weatherby, even to the point where she's doing fine in school, but she's not putting in the extra effort to battle Roger. And I do think there is part of her that maybe would even be okay if Roger got the tuition, because now that her parents know she wants to go to university, they actually seem more supportive than she expected them to, and they like want her to get a chance to do it. But she's like, no, I still need to get the Weatherby back so we have the financial stability to do this. I'm not, you know, can't just trust Scotland Yard to do it. You know, it's a fiction story. We're going to figure it out before the cops do. Anita kind of puzzles out what could have happened, and she's connecting the whole dots between Bennett and Percival, thinking that Bennett must have conspired, especially with Horace and Jasper being there. We only hear their name a little bit later, but they had no reason to know their names until it's used later. But in order for Anita to really get anywhere, she does need that key information that Mr. DeVille's finances are not going so great. Rather than breaking her promise to Stella and telling exactly what she saw or suspected at the fashion show, she goes to the reporter who's been reporting on these and kind of does an information exchange anonymously. And the reporter lets her look at a transcript from a different interview, and I believe this interview was with Bennett. It didn't say up front that they were in financial straits, but how the people were continuously trying to collect money and there just was nothing being paid. So Anita does put the pieces together, and she finally goes to Stella to tell her, hey, I think we need to like, well, she was specifically saying, Stella, can you like confront Bennett and your dad about this? Because like, yes, I want to be a friend. I don't want anything bad to happen to you and your family, but I have to look out for my family, and I need this diamond back. They're the only ones, them or the jewelry collector, are the only ones who could have had it. Like, at least talk to them, like, please get the diamond back. Which I actually really appreciated Anita taking that firm stance for her family. I don't think she could have done that if she had not met Stella. I think had she not met Stella, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. But with Stella's influence for her to assert herself, I do think this was a very subtle way to see that growth of her, you know, protecting her family. Initially, Stella isn't going to do anything, but that voice in the back of her head is like, you know, it is kind of suspicious that Dad left me here in the apartment, or the hotel really, and took Bennett and the dogs to Hell Hall. She takes Anita's notebook with kind of all the evidence laid out, and her plan is to go confront Bennett, more or less take her place back at her father's side, and like a non-negotiable, like, we're partners. Like Stella and her dad, like, we're partners, we're in this together. If Bennett did this, he needs to give the diamond back, and we'll like move on to the next thing, but we're not keeping the diamond. Like, we'll figure different things out. She makes the trek out to Hell Hall. Mind you, she has to like take the bus because their private car privileges have been canceled. And she walks out there, and of course the dogs are there enjoying the countryside. The house is still all musty and like partially covered up. Bennett's there, her dad's there. She's calling out Bennett in front of her dad. Bennett is a nervous wreck. And her father is listening to all this, kind of just being like, nah, like that's a silly thing. And oh man, that flag went up so fast. Bennett cracks. Bennett's like, it wasn't my idea. This was your dad's idea. Which breaks Stella's heart because she didn't want to believe her dad would be involved. She wanted to put that blame on Bennett, even though he was like family. But the fact that it was her dad trying to do all this just to get them out of the Reds so they could push their fashion brand more and do it all for himself. So rather than turning him in, Stella negotiates. I'm going to stay in the hotel since you want to, like, her dad kind of still plans to stay at Hell Hall and keep distance. So he's just, working in like the factory setting. That's why he's out of London, right? But she's like, the diamonds are going to be returned. The jeweler couldn't sell them with them being like in the news. Horace and Jasper, who were working for Mr. DeVille, have the diamonds. And he's like, take them, or maybe it was Stella's idea take them to the shelter and put it in one of the dog kennels, like one of the dogs excreted it in one way or the other. And that was the cover-up plan. And then like out of that, pretty much different little bits change. So like it almost feels like even though Stella puts herself in the position where the company will be hers, it very much felt like she totally took over and her dad was at her mercy, which, given the fact she could have turned him in, definitely. With all things considered, her dad was at her mercy. So the fact that she can kind of step in and be like, we're modifying the dress line. We're not going to send stuff to Hollywood for now. We're gonna work our way back up, pay things like, take control back of the company. The diamonds appear at the shelter, found the next day. Everyone's thrilled and just accepting that, oh, one of the dogs must have eaten them, even though it was in a kennel with like Cocker Spaniels. And there was, I think, even one of the guys from Scotland Yard were at least a little suspicious, like, how did those dogs eat, like, this is a chunky diamond necklace, right? So there were still suspicions, but there was really no follow-up that we know of, at least, if there was still like a pending, is this really what happened? Because the Weatherby was back, everybody's happy, the search doesn't have to go on, DeVille's name doesn't have to go down into it, they still make their donation match to the shelter, so keeping up appearances, and everything seems to go back to normal. We wrapped up the little diamond mystery with a pretty little bow. Anita's able to go walk her dog in the park, and then she runs into Roger, walking a pug we've never had mentioned. He also doesn't say that it's a shelter dog that he's just walking, and doesn't say he just got a dog. And they go and they walk in the park, being friends, developing that relationship, right? The end. I kid you not. So here we go. They have bumped into each other, and they're talking about he might not be able to go back to Highbrook, but in the meantime, they're kind of going to keep that friendly competition going. We're walking our dogs. Maddie's and Roger's dogs tugged on their lead. So I guess it is Roger's dog all of a sudden. We've never heard of this dog before, unless I missed it, but I was trying to read very closely. Anita was blooming too, finding herself in the city with her dog at her side and a new confidence in her step. She couldn't wait to see what happened next. The end. The end. What happened to this whole setup in the beginning of the book? Because need I remind you, I mean, this has been a long video because of the real-time updatey sort of, but the first chapter, yeah, the whole first chapter, second chapter as well, Chapter 1, 1958. So this is present time. All the 101 Dalmatians have come running back, and they're wondering if those puppies are safe because they still don't know who kidnapped them, puppy napped them. And Roger speculates, well, why isn't it Cruella? She did there was that whole incident way back when we were in school together. And then we get chapter 2 in Stella, present day. Her thoughts were consumed with revenge. How had she been bested by a pack of mongrels? Yada yada. So it has that moment where she sees the news post that the puppies went back to Roger and Anita, right? So it says, you know, she'd been cleared by the initial investigation, and Roger always ruined things, right? Roger Radcliffe always ruined everything. My first impression was, okay, we're gonna go present, past, do the school stuff, come back to the present and tie in with her revenge because she knows where the puppies ended up. Gotta finish it, right? No. She... Did you forget? If you had not, you being Mrs. Calanita, Jen, did you forget that you started the story in the present? Maybe you could argue, maybe you didn't intend for things to come back around and for Cruella to do more and, you know, get more revenge. But even then, Roger always ruined everything. Well, Roger, he was there. He and Anita were rivals, but it wasn't Roger's fault that Anita, you know, went to Stella with evidence. Stella's the one that made Anita kind of, you know, go above and beyond. It just didn't, you saw my reaction. I was thoroughly shocked and disappointed because I was like maybe a couple chapters, you know, I had like this much, like 2 chapters left, and I was like, so we got the diamond back. What's gonna happen in this little bit? So I was already like, uh-oh. It's either gonna be a very quick resolution of like they did finally arrest Cruella in the present, or we don't get it. Honestly, if you took out chapter 1 and chapter 2 and just started with Anita in school, this probably would have just been a fun read. A fun little school chummy time read. However, I'm wondering if you put that in just so you have your 101 Dalmatians, since that is what this is based off of. And if that's the case, I had hope, because I did enjoy Suddenly Super by Jen Calanita significantly more than I have any of her other Twisted Tale books. I've not read a non-Twisted Tale book by her at this point, but I was so very hopeful, because I do think, I guess this is our little wrap-up part, I do think that Jen's strength is more in the modern time, or granted this is like 1950s, modern enough where having it be in school with all these different modern elements, I feel like that is a strong setting for her to write in. I just don't think the editing was thought through on all the way here. And I tried to go over it with a couple people to be like, am I crazy? Or is this giving like not finished vibes, or like forgotten? Like we forgot how we started the story. At this point, I don't even know what to say. If any of you guys have read it, definitely let me know, because you guys are much more coherent than I am when it comes to like summarizing these feelings. I just have them. I mean, at least what if Anita and Cruella were best friends is true for a point. And I didn't, like, honestly, I can still be critical about, oh, this little tidbit's weird, this and that. But overall, the whole storyline with them being in school together, I enjoyed. It was a very easy read. If I didn't have to stop some nights, I probably could have finished it in a day or two, because it was just an easy read. But getting to the end, and it's not even wrapped up, but also, I don't think we could ignore the fact that it's a 5-year difference. And I think I mentioned this early on, where in that first chapter, Anita's 21. And if you're going out of the way to reference the present storyline with the 101 Dalmatians, she's not 21. She's at least mid-late 20s. But even then, to say, okay, we're going back 5 years to when they were 16-year-olds in school, make it 10 years. Make it 10 years. Because nothing that they did, you didn't even connect it at the end. I'm done. I'm not done reading the Twisted Tales because I still have hope. But that's I'm not gonna lie. I fully see a lot of Disney IPs, maybe not their IPs, but their releases and movies, books, being disappointing. And I don't see the trend getting better because they're trying to please everybody, and then they're pleasing nobody. And that's a really good lesson for any creator to know, is you're not going to make everybody happy, but if you do it right, the people who it's for are going to love it. This is what I'm the person that this stuff is for. I'm not happy with it. I've been toying with the idea of talking more about different ongoings with Disney and comparing it to the early Disney. If you're on my level, I think you probably appreciate classic Disney more, and maybe even that's just the general consensus. I am doing a few bingo boards, essentially for me to like rewatch all the movies. And I was going chronologically to a point, but right now I finished all the goodies. And then now I'm in the next chunk, which is the Renaissance. So we got the 90s, and a lot of them I haven't watched yet because my husband actually wants to watch them with me and our times have just not lined up. But I'm also watching the straight to video movies as well. So I'm getting into that rough age where these are all still good, and then the sequels and kind of off Disney Channel originals are good for the most part, but there's definitely some where you're like, budgets. So it's kind of interesting to look at, and I do want to do deep dives to some level, but I don't know. There's still I think there's 2 more of these announced at this point. Well, I'm glad I actually looked this up. Disney.fandom.com/wiki/a-twisted-tale. I'll put that link in the description. The next scheduled release is September this year, and that is going to be a US release for Moana Twisted Tale, and that is How Far I'll Go. Following that, we have the Lilo and Stitch Twisted Tale, No One Gets Left Behind. It looks like fall 2026. So a little bit out there. And that's by a new author, Kiala Kendall. I think that's how you would say her name. But now there's 3 more that are to be announced. One by Jen Calanita, one by Mari Mancusi, and one by Liz Braswell. And both of them, or all 3 of them, have released information in April saying they are working on a Twisted Tale, but at this point, there's no idea what the release dates are or what the twists are, so I guess we don't really know what the series, or rather the movie that it's going to be based off. But I'm excited to see Liz Braswell on this list. Mari Mancusi, I think I only have a couple of hers. So Mari has done 2, Princess of Thieves and Sword and Stone. I did enjoy both. Obviously, there's reviews on those in this playlist, but nice to see that they're going to keep working on them. I don't think any of them are going to go as dark as the early ones have, and I think that is very disappointing in and of itself. They're not enjoyable. It's just if you pick it apart, things unravel, like your ending of the book. So Moana, Lilo and Stitch, and 3 unknown releases, which, let's take a gander. They haven't really done any Pixar's. Not done, I think they have stayed to, well, Brave, The Incredibles, sorry, that is a Pixar. I wouldn't mind another anthology of short stories. I think that could be a nice way to touch upon it. But if I use that as a reference of stories they might go back to, Ratatouille. Ooh, the Black Cauldron. That would be fun. This is the OG Disney bingo. See the Black Cauldron. That would be great. It's from the originals. They've hit most of the like human Jungle Book. And they had a Bambi short story, but I don't see them doing fully animal. Even though they did do Lion King. We all know how that turned out, and if you don't know, it's in the playlist. So maybe Bambi, but I feel like Ratatouille, Black Cauldron would be fantastic. I hope Liz Braswell gets Black Cauldron. Jungle Book, maybe, from the original cycle. Ooh, Atlantis. Ooh, Treasure Planet. Like, there's definitely stuff out there to base good stories on. Hunchback, Tarzan, all pretty much most of the Renaissance stuff they still have. But yeah, let me know if you got to this far into the video. Let me know what you thought, if you have checked out Cruel Truth, if you are even going to invest the time, because, like I said, it is an enjoyable read, but why did you set me up like that? I feel like we're missing things, and it could just be me. But yeah, let me know what you thought about Cruel Truth, and what's your top 3 either twisted tales that you want to see or that you think these authors might actually attempt, since we are expecting at least 3 more after Moana and Lilo and Stitch. So aside from those 2, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Like I said, the release for Moana is early September, so I'll try to get that book right away. And in the meantime, hope you guys have a great summer, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!